Hello, welcome to the Chirp YouTube channel. My name is Christy. I am your friendly online speech-language pathologist and specialist in children's communication development, including behavior, because behavior is a type of communication, which we're going to talk about a lot more because I'm starting a new series about behavior management. You may know that I have done many videos on behavior, mostly how to prevent challenging behavior, like this one right there, where I talked through the pyramid model, which is a fantastic model for schools, classrooms, and homes to address the fundamental needs of young children so that those behaviors may not be necessary any longer. I recommend that series. It was a really good one, and I enjoyed making it for my own refreshment as well, because I deal with some challenging kids. And it's good to always keep learning and to keep refreshing what I already know. Because sometimes in the heat of the moment, we don't do what we know. We do something else because we get overwhelmed. The more we think about it, the more we talk about it and practice it, the more we hear other people and see other people doing it the way we should do it, the more likely we are to do it that way as well. In this new series, I'm going to talk about a different model. There are lots of models of dealing with behavior. Most of them say similar things, recommend similar things, but they all come from a slightly different perspective. And sometimes one perspective is going to hit home with you or with me a lot more than others. So I want to give you a buffet of interventions to choose from, and maybe some of them will really make sense to you. This model is called the Conscious Discipline Model. There is a book, multiple books actually on this. There are books for home, books for school, and I will link them in the box below this video so that you can see them. We're going to kind of take information from this book and I will expand it to explain it as it has been in my own experience as a speech-language pathologist. And a lot of what I've done, I'm not your typical speech-language pathologist because I don't work particularly with kids working on their verbal skills. Yes, I want their verbal skills to develop. But a lot of what I have ended up doing in my career has been managing behaviors, managing the whole child, teaching the child how to regulate, how to stay calm, how to function, how to get needs met. Many times this turns into verbal language, and that is, of course, always a goal because that's how typical humans communicate, makes things easier. But the main goal is that the child is calm and functional and able to relate. And that is where we are going to start with this model of behavior management. And it's not just behavior management, it is training a child. I have gotten comments that I should talk about how to discipline children. And I feel as if I have talked about this quite a bit because I'm constantly talking about different methods for managing behavior. But I don't use the word discipline typically because it has a particular connotation to it. It has that connotation, the connotation of maybe physical violence, spanking, hitting, swatting, whatever you call it. I don't approve. It has a connotation of taking away privileges, and in almost every case, a child is not purposefully being naughty. A child doesn't have the skills that he or she needs in order to function in a particular environment with a particular amount of support. Yes, there are cases of children who just want to push the boundaries, and that we can discuss at a further time. But most of the time, even that is related to kids not having enough support in their lives and not knowing how to manage their own emotions, which we can help them with. The first topic we're going to discuss is the fact that there are 3 different states of being as humans, And the first one is survival. The first thing we need to know is, am I safe? Am I safe? Most of our kids with more severe needs go through the day feeling as if they are in a state of alert. All of their senses are being bombarded by sensory needs. You can read more about that right there. By an inability to communicate, and by not understanding the environment around them, and maybe by many other things that we don't understand. Their bodies, their brains are telling them, you're not safe. And when we are not safe, what do we do? This is what you will hear referred to as a reptilian brain. You will hear people talk about fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Fawn has been added kind of more recently as we have learned more about survivors of trauma and abuse. Fight, I think you can tell what that is. If someone is in a position where she does not feel safe, she may kick you. If a young child does not feel safe, he may bite you. But of course, there may be other reasons for that too. I have a bruise right now in an unspecified location because a little boy at church had some sensory difficulties, and pinching me was a good way to express himself from his perspective. I did not enjoy it. So there are multiple different reasons for behavior that we see as unwanted. And I should have said this at the beginning. I always say it in the box. Please get professionals involved if you have concerns about your child's behavior. Make sure that you are talking to professionals who are going to work with your child's communication and not just try to shape behavior by punishing or by rewarding certain responses, because that will be training your child to be a robot. What we need is people who will train your child how to stay calm, how to recognize her own internal state, her own emotions, and how to get needs met, how to respond to our internal emotions in appropriate ways. More appropriate all the time. I mean, we still see lots of grown-ups who cannot function managing their own emotions. So it is difficult, and none of us get fully 100% of the way great at that. But we can all still improve. I'm definitely still improving at this. So maybe get a speech-language pathologist who's a specialist in behavior. That would be a great start. Next, what is another thing a child might do if he or she is feeling unsafe? Well, we talked about fight. Next is flight. Kids might try to escape. They will try to hide. They will try to run away. They will not be engaged with the learning environment or with the relational environment. They will run away. And I have a video about elopement right there. Elopement is the professional term for running away. And in that video, I talk about lots of strategies for helping kids to not run away. But the biggest one is that they need to feel safe. They need to feel safe. We all need to feel safe in this world, and I know that so many of us don't. But it is my goal that you feel safe when visiting this channel, that the kids I work with and their families feel safe. It is my number one goal that everyone is safe. And I think it might be a good idea for it to be everyone's number one goal. The third thing children who don't feel safe might do is freeze. They might become non-functional. This happens a lot with kids who've experienced trauma. It happens a lot with kids who are overwhelmed by stimuli. We just become incapable of functioning, and we kind of surrender to whatever the people around us want to do with us. Clearly, that is not a healthy state of being. We do not want that. And the last one is fawn, which means to to treat someone with extreme deference, someone who probably doesn't deserve it. A word you might link with fawning is obsequiousness. Obsequious is when someone is very, very slimy and overwhelmingly complimentary in an icky way. And this often happens with people who have been abused. They often fawn over the abuser because it is a psychological response to try to win over this person so that this person does not hurt you again. Once again, not a good thing. We don't want our kids to feel unsafe and therefore like they need to display this behavior. Usually this behavior is in people who are a little bit older, who are able to express themselves verbally. But even with very young children, if you put an abused child in a room with two adults, one of whom is the abuser, many times the abused child will run to the abuser rather than to the non-abuser. And that really says something about fawning. I'd like to believe that we all would run away as fast as possible from our abuser, but sometimes that is not how our brain tries to protect us. If our child is not feeling safe, if our child is displaying these behaviors, then we need to work first on creating a safe environment. Some ways we can do that are by noticing. We can notice that the child is having these fears, and we can say, I feel scared. We can offer ways that the child can communicate. And obviously we have to work on this over time because children do not just automatically learn to communicate. It's a process. But we can begin that process of communicating about our emotions and about our internal feelings. Another thing we can do that helps children feel safe is that we can have regular routines. I just did a video on that right there, not in preparation for this series, but just as a separate issue, that this is one of the very important things that we can do when we realize that a child is having some behavior challenges. A predictable schedule decreases behavioral challenges. It helps kids to feel calm. It helps them to feel safe. I feel better when I have a plan, and when I follow my plan, I feel really good about that. We all do better when we know what to expect because it isn't such a burden of uncertainty upon us. Another way that we can help children feel safe is that we can offer them a little respite. We can offer them a break whenever they need it. All they have to do is hand me a break sticker or stand up. And maybe I have a beanbag that is the don't talk to me space, with some stuffed animals and some calming books, maybe even headphones with calming music inside. I don't recommend technology in this corner, but I had one student in my 20 plus years of working with kids with behavioral challenges who could not calm down. He was older when I started working with him. He was probably 16. And I don't usually start with kids that old, but this was in a program, and he came into my program. And so I'm not going to turn him away just because he's older. But if it hadn't have been for his tablet, there was no way to calm him down because that is how he had been conditioned. He had been conditioned to only know how to calm himself down with a tablet. And I'm sad about that. And I was working on that. But if he got to a certain point in ramping up in his behavior, that was the only solution that would prevent people from getting hurt. And so we used it. But we're going to do all that we can to prevent him getting to that point. And as we get to know him, we will help him, and hopefully he would be able to calm himself without the tablet. But you will notice that most of us adults cannot calm ourselves without our phones. If you get in a very angry mood and you know you need to turn it off, what do? Do you scroll Instagram? Do you watch home tours on YouTube? I like to do that. Do you play a game on your phone? I also have a word building game that I really love, and it helps my brain feel so calm. But I have realized that I am not developing the skills that I need if I am just spacing out. That might give me a little distance. It might make me feel calmer in the moment. But what I'm not doing is I'm not problem solving. I'm not talking to loved ones about my problem. I'm a God-believing person. I'm not talking to God about my problem, talking through it. I'm not doing physical activity to help me work through my feelings or even recognize what I'm feeling. I'm not doing journaling. I'm just ignoring the problem and blocking it out, which is not a healthy strategy. So we want to help our kids process their feelings, express their feelings. I will leave lots of info about that below. And we'll talk about that in upcoming videos in this series. But this particular video, I just want you to keep in mind that when you see a kid who looks naughty, who looks out of control, who looks like he or she is just being bad, this child may not feel safe. This child may be fighting because he doesn't feel like he's okay. He's not sure that he's going to be okay. His body is not sure that he's going to be okay. And we can help that by being a soft, welcoming place for even kids who are kind of challenging. That's a good mission statement. Thank you for being here. I will put lots of links in the box below, as always. And I hope to see you back here next time when I talk about the next type of being, the next state of being that we can be in, and it is called the emotional state. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time. Bye.